So, what advice do you give to the employees, the associates, when they have problems?
Hmm.
It is that they don't understand where the company wants to go, or whether it is a matter of the interactions within their teams. Uh,
Hmm.
what sort of advice you you give?
Yeah, so first, I asked to understand like,
Welcome to another episode of Reframe for Resilience. Our guest today is Miss Alicia Moody. She is head of HR of Microaire. And in the old days, we would have referred to her as a military brat. And given that, I know she has a lot of stories in which she was forced to take different perspectives and to reframe. So we're really looking forward to our conversation. Welcome, Miss Moody.
thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
As we usually do when we start, we ask our guests to tell us something about their journey. So we have a context within which, they have faced challenges or they have used the challenges that they face to help others, to advise others. So share with us your journey.
Yeah, so to not be long-winded, but to give enough to give some context. As you previously shared, I'm a military brat. My father retired Army, so we moved around quite a lot as a child. And so just from that experience, I had to, for survival and assimilation, really take into make, how do you say, be aware of where I was, what was the dialect people were using, what was the local slang, who was popular, who was not, what were the kids doing, what were the teachers teaching, what was going on in that environment, just to be able to survive that particular tour or assignment that my dad was in. And so in that journey, really began kind of focusing on more on blending in and not standing out and not really being myself and even understanding what that meant until later in life. And because of that need to always try to understand what was going on around me so that I could make sure I was showing up correctly for that situation, I kind of informed my path into human resources to kind of take that perspective to help shape workplaces where people take into consideration that people are different and that's perfectly okay, and to really focus on how do we leverage those differences versus using all of that energy to blend in. And once I really understood the power of who I was and what that meant, I was able to really flourish myself. So I leverage those learnings to help others and to also make sure we have that in mind of the impact of things that we do in our workplace with colleagues.
So you spend a lot of your time with the military families. Now, how does that, or how should I say, did that impact your view as you came to human resources, as your profession?
Yeah, so I love that you asked that. It really for me, one of the things that we had to learn is that we were saying the same thing just in very different ways. And so having shared language and what that means was important because I could say something and really think I'm communicating clearly, but that word has different meanings for different individuals. And so that's something I leverage to this day, especially when there's a lot of value in bringing in diverse skill sets and diverse experiences. You love that, but what that also means is there may not be a shared understanding of the terminology used when we're talking, especially if certain organizations have local language they use, acronyms they use. You can easily get turned off. So what I try to do is always level and frame and train leaders to be thinking about that when they're going into conversations to really start with what they're there to do, to be very clear on that, to make sure everyone understands, ask questions, and to kind of start with that trust and create a safe space where people can ask questions so that you can really tap into the different skill sets and experiences that you have in the room. I think that, we spend so much time at work, it affects our mental health. The least we can do is try to make sure we're being as impactful positively as we can and setting people up for success. And to me, if you're trying to reach a goal, you do want to make sure everyone understands where you're coming from or what you're there to do so that you can achieve it and really maximize on that versus spending time thinking that, oh, we have all these different misunderstandings. And it's literally just as basic as just asking questions and saying, hey, you can ask questions, I'm available to you. This is a safe space to do that, no judgment type of thing. And all of that to me always gets returned in kind, right? Because once you have that shared understanding and once you create that space where people can show up the way that they want, then with all of those thoughts and all those storming and brainstorming, you end up coming out with some pretty impactful ideas for your products and for your business. So,
And you said something, helping the leaders frame, what they're going to say.
mhm.
Do you have any specific challenges if you try to help them to reframe, namely to really change that which they wanted to do because it is not having the impact, the effect, the result that they wanted? What are the challenges there, if any?
I do think it depends on the individual. I've had some leaders that they already are aware that their language, what they're trying to do isn't fully understood. And I can leverage my relationships with those individuals to bring in those different perspectives to help them frame. And they'll trust that off right at the beginning and go, you know what? Let me try something else. I often also walk them through maybe prior times that they've tried to communicate and help them see a different perspective to that communication and how someone else took away something they didn't intend. And even ask them, hey, how about you follow up with that person and you have them explain to you what they think it is, and you'll hear something very different. I have had others that, I have never heard your perspective of
Mhm.
other perspectives. And they on their own go and ask other people to find out if that makes sense. Or when they go, as they're going through their communications or talking with their teams, I'm more probably talking to those individuals that are sharing with me, you need to go tell that person. They need to hear it from you. What's going on, how it's landing for you. And then also like pulling that whole picture together. Oftentimes, if a leader's not communicating well or just something isn't being communicated maybe in the most effective way or as effective as it can be, there are other things happening that you can help connect to, well, when they heard this, this is what happened. May it should have or not, that was just how it was understood. So with that, pull that group in, pull that individual in, talk with them, and they'll tell you directly what they thought that they heard.
So, what advice do you give to the employees, the associates, when they have problems?
Mhm,
It is that they don't understand where the company
mhm,
wants to go, or whether it is a matter of the interactions within their teams. Uh,
mhm.
what sort of advice you you give?
Yeah, so first, I asked to understand like what they want, like what I can do to support, like how they need me to be in that situation. Sometimes it's just a listener. I just want you to hear what I'm saying. And sometimes it's I want you to answer if you're aware of some of the why. And others might be, yeah, I actually would like you to do something about it, right? So really first understanding what they're desiring to have out of that interaction. And then if it is just, I just want to share something with you, I don't want you to do anything, but I just want to kind of get it out, and I feel like I can say this with you, then if I'm hearing it, and it's really something I think could be useful for a leader to hear, then I'm more talking through, hey, look, I know you do not want me to share this, and I know you do not really want me to comment, but I know a little bit more about this that it may help you understand the intention behind it or explain what it even means. And kind of invite them to let me share what I know. With that, some will be like, yeah, I would love if you understand to kind of catch me up on what I've missed. If it's something where I'm like, I really think it would be really valuable for the leader to hear this from you, like for you to share this with the leader. Are you comfortable with that? If they say yes, then I might even help them frame that and help them come up with language on how they can do it. If the real concern is comfort level, I may say it wrong. Or it could be actually, I just want you to summarize my feedback and bring it to the leaders and just share from another voice. Then I will make sure that I summarize it and get their blessing on that summary to then go share that back. And then say, I would love to follow up with you and let you know what your feedback informs so that they know that their voice was kind of heard as well. So,
Good. You mentioned the very beginning, well-being, which is very important to me. What are one or two things you'd like to leave us with that you do or advise employees to do to feel a sense of belonging, to feel included, because it's important for their well-being and their motivation?
mhm. Yeah, so I think it's important. I'll give a little story, then I'll answer your question. I just remember preparing for an interview years ago and being really nervous, and someone told me, Alicia, just show up as you. You're a really cool person. They will love you. They will want you on their team. Just forget all the stress and just show up and answer the questions as you are. And that's the guidance I give individuals. At the end of the day, you can only be you, and that's a superpower. So with that, show up in that way. If you even need to explain or prep or frame yourself of how you're going to show up for that conversation or how you will support or what your role is in that conversation and how you plan on following up and maybe even being clear on your communication style before you start so that you can help maybe explain to someone else who may have a different perspective of how you should show up and help educate, right, as well. Do what you need to be able to create that space to be yourself. At the end of the day, you're employed where you are because of what value you bring, and that you can only bring that value as best you can if you get to be yourself while doing that, and no one's going to knock you for that. So um, you'll even be able to not only yourself enjoy your work more, but also have more output if you're able to really show up the way you need and still meet the needs of the work with your colleagues.
Ms. Moody, thank you very much.
Mhm.
In a nutshell,
Thank
be
you.
your authentic self. Bring yourself to the workplace. You will be motivated and well-being will also improve. Thank you for spending the time with us.
Thank you.